everyone, I'm Kayleen Pendarvis, and today we have a fantasy book that we are going to review. And the title is Not So Human. And here is that fantastic cover. All right, so first thing I want to say about this is the author's name is Jeannette DiLouie. Hi, Jeannette. And this cover here, some things that I would like to highlight. And now we have this quite boring girl, I would say, right here on the cover. And she's just kind of like, meh, And she's like, what are you thinking about here? So she's definitely just very bland. She's got this look here that is it does not spell more or less someone who is strong, especially when you have this person here that's overshadowing her, looking at her, I guess, in some weird creepy way. And then these two wings here, I want to say they're different, kind of transparent. And then we also have just want to point out this stone wall. So this denotes here that this location is someplace overseas, and that's actually what took place in the book. It was a location overseas, and so I'm assuming the stone wall is more like a reference to that location, or there just could be some underlying references to the stone wall. Just the fact that she could be running all ways into a stone wall, and that's just what it seemed like here when I read through this. The back is very nice layout here. Now I just want to read some of this. So some things in life are certain. Being human isn't one of them. Sabrina might not care for every single thing, and y'all can see this look here. Okay, a very careless look, right? I mean, I'm not just saying it, but kind of is, right? So she may not care for every single thing about her life, but she's still used to being human, an orphan, and an everyday average American. Yet her life changes forever the afternoon she's followed home by 4 unsmiling men in dark suits and sinister shades. Yeah, a crash course in reality reveals that she's got a very, very different identity than she's always believed. Sabrina is actually a fairy princess. Now, with the author pointing this out early on, this was okay to do because she let you know this information. This was not something that she wanted you to not know, that this character right here, Miss Sabrina, was a fairy princess. So she definitely helped you out by knowing those things here. There we go. With a royal family in Scotland, and that's why I was saying here, this part overseas here looks like this is some type of stone wall from Scotland, and some particularly brutal enemies hunting her down in the US. Fleeing the country doesn't solve her problems, though. It only adds to them. With her new tiara to try on for size and a potential romance that seems bound to go badly before it can really even begin, Sabrina still has to stay one winged ahead of the tenacious Human Preservation and Advancement Committee, which the author narrows down because that's very, very wordy. HPAC. I'm not really sure if we were supposed to say HPAC, but I just always refer to it as HPAC. Okay, now this, some damage here on the book here from me having to, guys, this book here, now it may not be a lot going on this cover right here, but I can definitely say this is not a book to be judged by its cover in no way, form, or fashion. And even though it's a little bland for my taste, what's inside it's rocking. So I want to say here that, and just to show you just a little bit of the layout and some bent pages here. Yep, and I wrote in it, but that's okay. And the layout is super nice here. So, and all of that. Now, I want to say here, and I'm just gonna, of course, set that down. the protagonist is going to be Sabrina, who's very nonchalant, kind of like laid back, and just like her picture on the front, she's just kind of like this. And then she's kind of like a lonely type. She's a catastrophizer. Like, it can be one little thing and she's gonna just be like, you know, all about it, and it's gonna blow it up into a whole nother level of something that didn't even need to be taken to the next level. She's that type of person, but it's more of a subtle way about her, and it's just who she is. And so I don't have any issue with her being that way. And then we also have Deanda, which is her best friend, and she's more like the laid back, very, very, very supportive BFF, the ones that we wish that we could have at all times by our sides. So my first 10 pages thoughts. Now, my attention was totally captured while reading this, and a matter of fact, it was so captured that I specifically remembered when I started this book, there was a huge thunderstorm going on. Okay, guys, this thing was so bad that myself and my 2 dogs, we were locked in a closet. Okay. And, you know, I'd already started this book, and I'm like, okay, you know, I don't want to really stop this. And then while I'm in this closet, it's like booms and bangs going on in the background, I'm just going to keep on reading because my attention is like totally into this. This is the way she writes. I mean, she started off, guys, with the first few words saying, Sabrina Johnson was sitting across from a sociopath. Okay. So sociopath, I'm like, really? Wow. Okay. Who was out for her blood? Wow. So I'm like, man, I mean, so I could care less about what was really going on. I felt like safe in this closet and all, and I'm just going to keep on reading. So cool. So definitely hooked in the first few pages there. I found myself very anxious to keep reading because of the level of suspense. It started off, you know, here having some suspense at that dinner table, and then we just kind of elevated on and on here, you know, visiting her job. And I like how the author didn't spend a lot of time on the irrelevant things. Like, her job really wasn't that important. And I like how the author just kind of, she was like, here's the most important part here. We're about to have some action start. We're about to start talking about this here issues that she's got of being something that she didn't even know that she was, a fairy. Okay, cool. All right. So overall here, I was digging the wayward type narration, and she, you know, of course had that reference to the Tinkerbell, and I could say, okay, well, that's kind of cliche to have, but it really wasn't out of place. I mean, you know, she kind of looks like a little Tinkerbell. The Tinkerbell had her hair up, but she kind of looks like that. So, I mean, I would think and just have an instant, you know, description automatically there, because most of us are definitely familiar with that Tinkerbell. So there was some other highlights that I want to point out. I could visualize well the setting. The author wanted you to be where they were. She has a very creative, down-to-earth writing. It's a very, very, very casual tone. When I tell you guys, she has a perfect sentence structure, perfect paragraph layout, very detailed in her imagery. There was occasional comic relief, and I'm excited to point this out too. Sabrina at one point had a lot of questions that she was asking Deanda in the car that one time, and some of those questions were just, to me, they were just over the top. But, you know, it's, for example, do fairies eat donuts? And I'm thinking to myself, are donuts kind of like bad for anybody to really eat? My answer would have been, okay, you are a fairy. Haven't you been eating those donuts your whole life? That would have been my response. She asked again, if fairies, you know, if we're fairies, how come we don't have wings? Now, that was a legitimate question, because when we associate fairies, you know, we think, you know, wings and things. But my answer would have been more or less, you know, just don't believe everything that you see in the books. Okay. She asked another question, where's the pixie dust? Now, I know she got that because if she is Sabrina, who may have actually watched Peter Pan and she knows Tinkerbell, she's gonna say, where's that pixie dust? Legitimate question. My answer would have been, you know, vampires definitely don't turn into bats. Okay, so this is not the Twilight here, all right? And so, you know, you have those sprinkles and sparkles and all of that. Okay, now, then also too, I want to point out there was a type of argument that was a little funny. You know, Sabrina was getting on Deanna's nerves, and that little spat that they had that, you know, normal BFFs normally have, and then turn around and make friends again. That was actually very good. That was good reference there to the average friendship that we, you know, typically carry with people. The author pulls you in immediately from reality to fantasy. Because 1 minute you're living in Sabrina's boring life and her boring apartment and experiencing her boring job, and to her sitting on the sofa eating some ice cream and feeling bad for herself because she can't find anybody, all the way to her going to a kingdom and being suspect number one, or someone that they're hunting down. You know, she's going from here to danger automatically. And when she finds out that she's a fairy princess, you know, again, it made sense to find that out very soon. It wasn't a real spoiler for the readers. The author describes everything. It's third person view at its best, you know, every second in the character's emotions. Now, down the line, you meet this character, and this is what we were referring to on the back, where she was saying about her love life, you know, kind of blooming a little bit here. Dallas, okay, now he is the male fairy that, you know, they introduce a little later on. Oh my gosh, he is amazing. He's got this suave type persona, like, you know, I'll beat up anybody that comes this way, you know, I'll take care of that. He's like your own personal tuxedo mask. If anybody knows the reference to Sailor Moon, I mean, that is, you could just imagine him wearing the tuxedo hat and then the outfit and having a little rose attached to his mouth and all. And he's, you know, just there to protect her. And it's kind of like they just flirted, and he's like this angry personality and she's this awkward girl. And it's kind of like, I'm thinking she's going to run him off based on how awkward she is. But it actually was drawing them together, and they were like two opposites attracting. So that was actually pretty cool. I did enjoy the modern day fairy kingdom. It was different from what I expected. I thought that we were going to be taken to a fairy land, but the author was not cliche in taking us to a fairy land. The antagonist in the book, which was the H-Pack, and that was Mr. Unsmiling. And actually, it's kind of weird. These characters don't smile, but, you know, there was a character here. He was called Mr. Smiley. Okay, so it's kind of like, you know, these guys, they have no personality. These are worse than the Men in Black here. Okay, but these people, I thought it was pretty interesting, and it was very ironic that she named the character Mr. Smiley. So I thought that they were very formidable, dangerous, and so on and so far. So far. Now, my favorite part was when she was trapped. Sabrina was trapped, and they were doing all of these experiments and so on, and I kind of felt like I was really there, and I felt bad for her. She was suffering. Sabrina's overall growth also into her new role was very believable. The author paced you through, so that was great. I couldn't find, and y'all know I tried, to find any type of graphical errors or any issues with the syntax. It's not like I was really, you know, wanting to find those things, but I think it was very great in the editing and so forth, and everything was smooth sailing. Now, even though I spoke in depth about how great and wonderful this book was, there were some unfortunate lowlights here. Now, I would have liked to see more creativity on Sabrina's fairiness being in disguise. Perhaps, you know, she has a health condition and needs to take prescription meds, or even a magical spell is over her all of this time and she just didn't know. I just find it very hard that she didn't know that there was something different about her. It's like women and it's like me, and then all of a sudden I found out I'm fairy princess. So something had to have given that away, or either there had to have been something that was major that was happening to cause her to not ever know that she was a fairy princess. The chapter fonts, I think, had the opportunity to evolve. Now, I'll show you that here. So, for example, here. Now, this is kind of like an type of eerie type feeling type font, okay? But, you know, once you got to the happy side of the book and it progressed, I didn't really see a need for this type of font to be here. It may be a creative switch into a more happier font, and that would kind of catch the readers off guard and be like, huh, wow, this used to be here, but now it's different. So, you know, maybe something like eerie to fancy. All right. Sabrina's escape from the facility was a bit disappointing. I was really looking for some fairy fights and maybe some magic to be used. The fairies that just seemed all too common in their abilities to be able to just take that enemy down quick, fast, in a hurry. Now, my opinion of the plot. Overall, great, full of suspense, have no issues with it. Closed with a very nice cliffhanger. So believe it or not, guys, this is a first part to a series. So there's a part 2 out there. And Jeannette, if you have not written that, please do. I want to know, I just want to know, is Dallas going to get with her? And you know, there's another character that's an issue for her. What's going to happen? So we need to know that answer. This cliffhanger is way too much, but it's a great cliffhanger. And so discrepancies here that I did find. Oh my gosh, guys, it was bugging me so much. Deanda, her best friend, could have told Sabrina that she was a millionaire. I mean, guys, wouldn't you want to know that you were a millionaire? Wouldn't you want to know that? I mean, she saw her struggling from paycheck to paycheck, like we, you know, many of us do, okay? And all this time, she's got millions and some plus somewhere in a savings account, okay? Now, I understand there's a timing and place for everything, but you knew I wanted to buy that sweater. You were in the store with me that day, and you let me struggle. You let me look for pennies and dimes, okay, to try to find money to buy this here sweater. All right? But you knew I had $1 million something in a bank account. I don't know, Deanda and I might have some issues that day. I just think the struggle was just way too real. Now, there was another part in there. She should have undergone the full surgery to have the device that was in her ear removed in order to be more believable. That the scraping to make it go away, I couldn't buy that there. And lastly, the X over Dallas, what a shame. No entertainment needed for that, and it was a good twist. I will say, great job on that. But hopefully she doesn't go. We're waiting on part 2 so we can find out what happens with that whole situation. Now, is it ready, as my final judgments, is it ready for the shelf, or does it need a little more work? It's definitely ready for the shelf beyond. Was I confused at any point while reading? No. Did I care about the characters? Yes, and particularly Dallas. Did it have a compelling plot? Yes. Was the dialogue believable? Yes. Is there any questionable, profane, graphic content? Yes, but not overbearing. Who would I recommend this book to? Persons who like fantasy and romance, for sure. Now, for your book clubs and comments down below, if you choose to check it out, which characters in the book did you like the best, and which characters did you like least? And if you're wondering why I critique, check out my book, Secrets of the Shadowed Hearts and 74 Tears on File. They can be found on our online self-published bookstore, Amazon.com. And that gives you time to go purchase the book, read it, and make your very own critique. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, See you later. Bye.